So the All Blacks have got a massive Rugby World Cup warm-up game just around the corner. It is up against the Springboks, who have earlier in the week announced their side. Now we have to wait for the ABs, and in this video we will be trying our best to predict who the All Blacks will be going with in this exciting game at Twickenham. Now it is myself and it is Rugbyitch. We've already seen the box. We got a lot of those predictions wrong. Why do you think we will get these ones right?
I just don't really know. I mean, we were definitely wrong with a lot of them in terms of that block prediction. I mean, I don't think any of us, I mean, particularly us two, we definitely didn't see Kaden Moody starting at the number 13. But hey, a lot of you guys actually in the comments did suspect something that could actually happen. So fair play to you guys. But no, I guess in terms of this squad, it really just depends on if the All Blacks would go with a stronger squad, really, or if they'll kind of go with what the Boks have done and kind of maybe switch around a few players in the instance. But this is only, this is the All Blacks' only warm-up game, really, before the Rugby World Cup. So it is going to be pretty interesting to see what they do here. But yeah, no, excited for this prediction.
And it does make it tricky, doesn't it, seeing as their last game was that Bledisloe Cup match 2. It's been almost a month since that has happened. So it's going to be finding that balance of getting players in form for that first game up against France, but then also not risking injuries, because we've seen so many in the last few weeks. We do not want to see too many more. We've already seen Shannon Frizzell ended up with an injury just in the training, but we will jump straight into it. Front row, who have you gone with for the All Blacks in this game up against the Boks?
Yeah, well, for this one, I think it was pretty easy, just because I honestly want to see kind of a big battle in terms of this front row. And with the Boks obviously selecting which I kind of believe they do anyway, with Kitsov, Marks, as well as Malherbe, I want the All Blacks to do the same. So for that reason, I'm also going with their strongest. I'm going Ethan de Groot, I'm going Cody Taylor, as well as Tyrell Lomax. I just think those three are just being really the front runners, you could say, in terms of that front row. So you've got to go over them again and just allow that kind of battle to happen within those scrums.
I'm having the realization our teams are going to look very similar, I believe. Because across the board, just in general, have you gone with more of a strong side or more of a mixed-up team, out of curiosity? Or a bit of both, maybe, a little bit?
I've probably gone, this is a weird way of saying this, but I'd probably say my squad is 75% including the bench, in terms of what a strong lineup would be. There's only a few picks in there I've made that obviously, due to an injury, just say for Rizal, or maybe down towards the bench where I made a few changes. But besides that, I'd say I have a pretty strong lineup overall.
Well, I've got an identical front row. Ethan de Groot, number 1. Cody Taylor, number 2. Tyrell Lomax, number 3. I feel like it's exactly what the All Blacks need to do here. Yes, there's a chance that they could go with a couple new players just to try and give them some more game time. I think out of the two propping positions, the more likely would actually be tight head that they make the change. Maybe give Fletcher Newell the chance, seeing as he hasn't had a huge amount of game time heading into this Rugby World Cup. But I believe that they will have to try and match the Boks up front. And like you mentioned, with the front row, the Boks have gone with some pretty handy players.
It's going to be pretty tough. With the hooker as well, it is a tougher call than what most people do believe, because you have to remember when Samisoni Takalaho really came onto the scene with the All Blacks, he really did he was sensational, really, to be honest, against the Boks in that rugby championship which he played in. So that could also be in the back of the minds in terms of Ian Foster here. So does he go? Does he kind of revert back towards him for this game, or does he still stick with Kid Taylor, who overall has been just more consistent, you could say, throughout the whole of 2023. So it's a big call, but I think for what we believe, they're going to go with the strongest lineup. So we'll see what they do there.
Or does he go with Dane Coles? Probably not, unless they want to go away a few penalties.
wasn't really my thinking, but I know if that happens, fair play to them.
Very risky, just before a World Cup, I would say. We've seen already a few interesting challenges as of late. Just ask England. But now looking at the locking duo, number 4, I have gone with Scott Barrett. Hesitantly. I want him to be playing 5 because he seems to be in the form of his life at 5. But the reason I switch him to 4 is because I've got someone else at 5, and that is Sam Whitelock. It seems to be the combination and the numbers that the Crusaders have them. That is why I've gone with them in that order. But Barrett, I believe, one of the most informed players for the All Blacks heading into this Rugby World Cup. Sam Whitelock just returning from injury. A lot of experience between them going up against Eben Etzebeth and Franco Mostert.
That's a good battle. Well, this is probably the most notable change I've made, I'd say, in terms of this starting lineup overall. I mean, again, I really did want to put Whitelock in here, but I've made the bold decision not to. So for that reason, I've actually gone with Tupou Vaa'i at the number 4, and I've gone with Scott Barrett at the number 5. So it's a big call, but, I think Scott Barrett alone has enough experience to help, Tupou Vaa'i in terms of locking position and to obviously challenge against the likes of Etzebeth as well as, Mostert. So I do believe that's, again, I'm going with a young kind of duo there in terms of what they could, go with. But I believe, this is probably the duo they go with actually in the future as well, following the Rugby World Cup. So I guess why not try it now? I mean, let's just see if it works or not. But I'll be very surprised if they do it, but I kind of want to see it. So that's the reason why I selected it.
And I guess with the fact that it did kind of happen a little bit through that Bledisloe second test match, when we saw the early injury of Retallick, perhaps they look at Vaa'i, like you said, as that future option throughout a few of those games of the Rugby World Cup. But speaking of the Rugby World Cup, a man who's not in the opening game, Shannon Frizzell, he would have been locked and loaded as our number 6 here, I believe, if he had been available. But now they have to make that change. Who have you got in the loose forward trio for the ABs? Yeah,
so this is a tough call because in my eyes, there's really only 2 players who can really fill this position because, both of us now, so that's Scott Barrett. So he's kind of off the table now. So it's really, in my eyes, between Luke Jacobson, who can really cover all three of the positions in terms of that loose forward pack, or you shift Dr. Papali back from the 7 to the 6, because we've seen that often. That's what Ian Foster has done. So I've actually gone with the same thing there, and I've gone with Dr. Papali at the number 6 jersey. It's a bold call because, again, he is normally suited as a 7, as we all know, when he plays for the Blues. But he's such an important player, and I think he can fill the boots in terms of what Shannon Frizzell has done in that position. And he's known for his tackling anyway, Dr. Papali. So I think out of the 2 in terms of Jacobson compared to him, I'd rather have Dr. Papali in that position because I know he'll be more of the enforcer, to say the least, compared to Luke Jacobson. So that's the reason why I've gone with him there, the number 6. Number 7, of course, I've gone with Sam Cane, captain. And yeah, he is nailed down that spot. There's really just no explanation really for him now because he is the captain. He's in form. Shut up. That's his 7 jersey. In terms of the 8, again, it's pretty simple because there's not really a lot of competition in this area. Again, you do have the likes of Luke Jacobson, but you got to go with Artis Sevilla here. Just man, I'm on a mission really, and going into the Rugby World Cup with a bit of form under his belt. It's it's getting good for him and also the All Blacks. So, yeah, that's my loose forward pack there.
And while you were talking, I was thinking about something. Believe it or not. And that is, I know that there was some injury-covered players who travelled with the squad, if I'm not wrong, and one of which I thought was Samapeni Finau.
Yes.
Now, I have got Luke Jacobson as my number 6, but do you think there's any chance that they decide that they'll play Samapeni Finau at blindside flanker, save Jacobson for having that 6 and 8 cover when they get to the World Cup, and have him come in just for this game, Samapeni Finau? Is there any chance of that happening, or do you think they'll just say we need to stick to the guys who are going to France?
Yeah, see, I don't know. I'm actually 50-50 on that one because it really depends, I'd say, in terms of what they do in the bench because if they revert to, like, I don't know, again, the All Blacks normally go with a 5-3 split at the end of the day, but if they were to go with a 6-2, then it actually would make sense to bring someone like Finau into the conversation, maybe come into the starting role or even off the bench, and then allow Jacobson to obviously fill the other 2 spots in terms of backups. So that could definitely be a possibility. But at the end of the day, I think he'll just be more as a cover, more of a standby in this game because they want to go with the guys, like you said, that have been selected at the end of the day. So, yeah, I mean, I like the selection of Luke Jacobson, so I think that's probably a good call back.
I guess worst comes to worst, when it comes to that number 6 jersey, you can always fall back on Scott Barrett just in case if needed. Of course, no one wants to see it, seeing as how well he's been playing at lock. But Ian Foster might be like, yep, that's what we'll do. We'll put Bazza at number 6 and we're all good. No need to bring anyone in. But number 7, I've gone with Sam Cane, just like yourself. Nice. 2 Chiefs players in my loose forward trio. And number 8, I've gone with Ardie Savea. I believe that they will go with that strong pack up against the Springboks, try and match them with the physicality because when you look at the Springboks starting lineup, it seems to be the forwards are the ones that a lot of people are talking about. Yes, they're talking about the changes in the back line, but people see the forward pack as more of the threat in this game because of who they've gone with and some massive players scattered throughout those 8 men. But now we are at the 9-10 combination. I have gone with quite a bit of experience here at number 9 with Aaron Smith. And then number 10, I've given it to Richie Mo'unga again. I feel like they'll want to give him some game time. I believe he will be the starting team for the game up against France. I can't guarantee it, but I think that it's more likely at this stage than Damien McKenzie for that opening game.
Yeah, no, I've gone the exact same as you. Aaron Smith as well as Mo'unga here. I mean, again, you can maybe think of McKenzie if you want to in this situation, like maybe get him up to speed really, as maybe like the minutes that he maybe gets in this game allows him to, I don't know, be kind of available or ready in terms of if they need him. But I think in terms of starting position, I just think it makes more sense to put Mo'unga there, allow him to kind of have the ability to kind of once more dictate the game. And again, you have to remember that when they go against the likes of the French, he's not going to be facing the likes of Romain Ntamack in this position. It's either going to be Hassoy, I'd probably say, or Matthew Jalabert. So I think it's between one of those two. I mean, maybe if I'm wrong in that sense, but I believe it's between one of those two in terms of that fly position. So I'd pick Mo'unga any day of the week in terms of that 10 when I'm facing those two. So it's definitely now more in his favor, I'd say, in terms of the battle he has in that position. But I think he does need a bit of more minutes under his belt just to kind of get the rust off, at least, before he kind of, I guess, unleashes, I guess, his ability against those 10s.
Thinking through of the injuries we've had so far in the warm-up games, I feel like Ntamack is one of those massive ones, isn't it?
Oh, it's the biggest one. It is
the momentum shift for France
by far the biggest injury that there is. Like, I'll be honest, guys. Most of you, if you haven't seen it already, I made my prediction video on my channel, so definitely check that out if you haven't already. But I did say France would win the Rugby World Cup, and I did say the All Blacks actually would win the opening game because I think that the All Blacks. I also thought about history and just in terms of the form they're in at the moment. I put them in winning that game in terms of the opening game of the Rugby World Cup. But I actually said that both these sides would actually meet up in the final. So it's actually kind of what we saw back in 2011 where, both of them were in the group stage in the same pool, came to the groups, and then obviously found themselves back in the final. I've gone the same situation, but I actually said France would win it this time in the final. But now with Ntamack out, it kind of questions my decision a bit because now I'm like, oh, this kind of gives the All Blacks a bit of an advantage now, knowing that they don't have their first choice 10. But I guess it just depends on. Look, at the end of the day, we'll see how those two 10s do in terms of the French, because we both don't know who they're going to select. Like, at the end of the day, it's going to be up for debate. But I'm really interested to see how Mo'unga can do in terms of this Rugby World Cup. And yeah, this game obviously gives them the platform to do it.
Certainly does. And now we move to the centres where we may see maybe a Crusader in there, perhaps with the recent inclusion of David Havili coming back into the side, although from your face with you going, I feel like you completely forgot about the man.
I was like, what? A Crusader? Like, has someone transferred?
Yeah, Geordie's headed down to Cross.
I was like, geez,
he's finally made the switch.
But no, gosh, I feel a bit bad here because I'll be honest, guys, I completely forgot. Oh my gosh, Havili's back. Oh, he's a big player. Jeez. Well, oh god, no, I can't change my mind.
We're saying that internal monologue.
Yeah, I'm just like, oh my gosh, what do I do here? What do I do here? But no, I got to stick with the guys I've selected here in terms of the starting lineup. Maybe I make that switch in terms of the bench, but for now, I've got to go with Jordie Barrett to the number 12, as well as Reiko. I mean, those two have just been you could arguably say the best two centers right now in terms of combination in World Rugby. Again, there's not a lot of people that kind of contest him on that front. I mean, you would normally say the likes of Damien Delende as well as Lekanyuam, but they've kind of now they haven't played as many minutes together, I'd say, in the last year. And I'd say, the form of that All Black duo has kind of risen. I think the only one that could really challenge them, and I'd probably still say it's the best, actually, now the more I think about it, is probably the Irish one. I think that's probably the best one in terms of center combination is probably the Irish one. Yeah, because again, they have Ake, who's just been brilliant recently, but you also do have the likes of Henshaw as well as Ringrose, and that's a really good balance there, I think, in terms of center combination. So maybe that's still the best one, but I would definitely say Barrett as well as Reiko is literally, like, they could definitely leapfrog that literally any day. So yeah, that's the combination I've gone with.
Alrighty, so for myself at number 12, I've gone with Geordie Barrett. Number 13, I've gone with Rieko Ioane. I may have mentioned Havili, but he's not in there. It's just a mention,
Gosh, okay.
It's a strong combination. I felt like they will go with the strongest that they can here up against the Boks. Definitely because of that new combination of Esterhuizen and Kanamudi. I feel like that will be
that's interesting.
A position on the field that they want to try and target.
Rieko versus Kanamudi. It's interesting because Kanamudi is going to essentially be like the Bok kind of Rieko. Well, he's been the same transfer really from wing to center in terms of inside center, outside center. I mean, so it's interesting. Like, could Kanamudi be like the Rieko of the Boks in terms of that back line? It's interesting because I mean, you probably know more than me. Is he? I know he's a good tackler, but is he up? Like, is he actually high up to be in terms of be able to cover that center position? Because I don't know. Like I know he's a good tackler, but you have to be a pretty good tackler to kind of cover that. So is he good on that front? Like in your opinion?
I know he used to play 13 back in his schoolboy days, which is where I guess the rumors started coming about. But then for that, the argument is Roger Tuivasa-Sheck used to play rugby union, and look at how he went when he was playing for the AB. So I'm hoping that Kanamudi does make that switch back. I feel like because he's playing at 13, he should be relatively comfortable just that little bit further in. He's got some size to him as well with that pace. It's going to be interesting, though, to see him at 13 and have Kurt Leorinso on his outside. Because those are two guys that normally you'd expect to see on either wing going to be playing right next to each other. And then you chuck in Andre Esterhuizen, the crash baller, at number 12. It's going to be exciting to see what they can do. But speaking of the back three, of course, we know the Springboks, All Blacks. For myself, number 11, I've gone Leicester Fainga'anuku. Recently came back from his injury. I'm giving him another opportunity here. There are plenty of options that we could have selected out on that left wing, but I have gone with Fainga'anuku mainly because he also links in with Richie Mo'unga, and I feel like it's relatively comfortable with who I've got on my right wing, which is Will Jordan. I have gone with him. Even though he played 15 in the last game, I now have Beauden Barrett at number 15, so it means that Will Jordan does have to move back to the right wing. He's just too good not to have in the side, I feel.
I agree.
And then Beauden Barrett, number 15, like I mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's interesting because, I think that was the first time ever in terms of the All Blacks that Will Jordan got to actually play at the number 15, or start at the number 15. So it was pretty interesting to see how well he did there because I'll be honest, that was the one thing I was actually looking forward towards in terms of the Minnesota game, but I actually didn't. When looking back now, I can't actually remember if he had a decent game or not. But I know, I guess, in the future, when Robinson obviously takes over, I would assume that's something which he'll look at in terms of Will Jordan's positioning. But for this game, however, I have gone back with him at the number 14 jersey. Similar to you, I've also gone with Beauden Barrett at the number 15. But I have made one change here. Instead of Leicester Fainga'anuku, I have gone with Mark Telea at the number 11. I mean, you just got to. I mean, Mark Telea, he's my guy. I just got to do it. And it's Mark Telea. Come on, it's just he gets past players pretty easily, and you're gonna have to get past a Bok, which is probably what you'd be facing Kurt Leorinso, which is that's a pretty tough opponent, really, because they'll be both trying to kind of sidestep each other really in terms of that battle. But I'm looking forward to it.
Righty, so now we move on to the benches. I've gone with the 5-3 split. I assume you have done the same.
Same, yeah.
Awesome. Right, front row, who have you got as those three positions?
Yeah, so I'll be pretty quick with this one. It's pretty simple. I've gone with Samisoni Taukei'aho. I've also gone with Offating Ofasi as well as Tamati Williams. That's kind of the bench cover there for my front row.
Righty, so I've got two of those three names. Number 16, Samisoni Taukei'aho. Number 17, I've got Tamati Williams. So we still have that difference, how you like to have him at 18. I have him at 17. Yeah. But for this one, I'm bringing him on as my loose head prop. And then number 18, the man that I mentioned earlier on, Fletcher Newell, as the last man coming off my bench. Now for the rest of the forward replacements, number 19, I've given it to Tupavai. And then number 20, Dalton Papali'i. So the two men that you brought into your starting forward pack are the two that I've got coming off my bench.
Okay, no, I like it. I guess on my front, I mean, I've had it's a pretty easy decision because I've left these two out as well. I've also gone with Sam Whitelock here coming off the bench, as well as Luke Jacobson, really more as like cover in terms of loose forward positions. So yeah, that's my 2 picks there.
Now the back replacements, probably the trickiest 3 positions I would say throughout this lineup for ourselves. So who have you got as your back replacements?
Yeah, so for number 21, it's a tough call because I could have gone with Cameron Roygaard here, but I decided to stick with Finlay Christie at that number 21 jersey. In terms of 22, this is where I've gone with Dim McKenzie, just because again he can get some minutes on the board, and it's just good to have someone like Dim McKenzie off the bench. You can definitely impact the game from that sense. So yeah, that's the reason why I've gone with him there. And then yeah, for the final position, I'll be honest, guys, I originally did have Anton Brown here, but I have to put David Havili in now because I can't believe I forgot about him, and now he's available. I'm like, you got to select him. So I'm putting Havili there as my number 23 because again, he can cover a lot of positions as well. He's very versatile. So yeah, David Havili in there, and that's my 23 man squad.
Alrighty, so once again, 3 differences. Well, kind of 3 differences.
Okay.
For myself and you. For this one, number 21, I've gone Cam Roygaard, giving him another chance before we head to that Rugby World Cup. Number 22, this is where I've put David Havili. And then number 23, I've got Amoni Narawa. Seeing as he's only recently come back from an injury as well, I've decided to have him and Havili as those last-minute changes, maybe give them about 20 or so minutes each at the end of this game. Although, to be fair, with the starting lineup, they may wait just that little bit longer, like the ABs normally would. But they seem to be obsessed with not playing Damian McKenzie off the bench when Richie Mo'unga is in the starting side. And I believe that is due to normally it's with Bowden Barrett in that starting lineup, so they do have a little bit of that fly half cover. Worst comes to worst. So that is why I've got Havili and Narawa. But this game, it is going to be taking place a very early morning start for us here on this Saturday. It's going to be an awesome one up against the Boks, the final warm-up game for both of these sides before we head into the Rugby World Cup. But as soon as the lineup is announced, I will be letting you know it on the channel, so be sure to hit that subscribe button. Also check out Rugbyitch, and also check out the Rugby Recap podcast, where we do our previews and reviews of each round as we head towards that World Cup, as well as all of that Rugby World Cup action. But thank you all very much for tuning in, and I will see you all for the next one.